But also when you focus on, and you already
of the early pregnancy. So that would be very nice. I or to 10-week scan. How I was trained, so I always use the ESWAG guidelines. So, so looking at the gestational sac, and I need to have a mean sac diameter, so the MSD, and then the 3D sweep comes in place, and I will show you later how. And then we talk about the yolk sac, the amnion.
and embryology in ultrasound also has a really big focus. I think you all know this beautiful images from Dr. Benoit. He's really a big fan of even going earlier than 12 weeks, and the images are really, really great. So that's what we would like to go. So let's have a look at the measurement of the gestational sac. And so you have the three planes, you have these two images, and then you measure. And I think we all did it like this, that you have a probe, you hold the probe like this, make one image in dual screen, and you hold the probe like this. But now we all learned how to make a 3D. So why not make a 3D and then scroll to the different planes? Because now we all know, and we also know which plane you have, A plane and the B plane. And it also saves you scanning time. And of course, in the early pregnancies, as low as reasonable, achievable is so important also in ultrasound. And you want to have as less exposure to ultrasound in very early scans. So why not make a very fast 3D and then you can measure? So everybody knows now how to do this. So I showed you already this, I don't need to show it again because you're all experts already in making the suite. I just want to show you this image. So it's very nice to make these images. So you see this very nice small fluid collection
Inside the uterine cavity. And of course, if you do the early scan, you all know, but you also have sonographers who are scanning for you, and maybe you already transfer the pregnant patient to another department. But that's of course how the regulations are in the countries. So that's very nice to see. And I always explain sonographers also said be aware of the difference in gestational age and the embryo age. Because we are so used when we do the obstetric scans that we ask the patient what was the first day of your last menstruation. And that's the ultrasound age is based on this one. But it's different, of course. Almost, I think the embryo is 2 weeks less than the gestational age. And that's very important to remember. Of course, I will not interfere in the departments, but because you need to do it according to the guidelines. But it's so good to remember that gestational age is different than embryo age. So it's good for the sonographers also. Here we are, the gestational sex. You can do it with all Folisons, with the very small Folison, but also with the really big ones. The only thing you have to do, if you see in 2D the gestational sac, just make a sweep. Just make a 3D. And then you have A plane, B plane, and C plane. And then you can do the 3 measurements. And then, of course, you have the measurement. What is also very nice to do if you have the 3D probe, try in the early pregnancy, try to make a 3D in this one. I had just a discussion this morning, said, okay, when you have the probe, and you do the early pregnancy scan and the vaginally, make a sweep. And then the images are really fantastic. It's even easier than doing a baby face because you have fluid around and so. But it's very interesting to do. And then maybe the next step, what you could do is, because you know on your system also in the clinic, you can save this data as a 3D printing data. Just try to, maybe you can print one early pregnancy. Why not? And then you can put it next to the ultrasound machine and you can say, so this is so small what we can see in the ultrasound system. So maybe you could try. So then you see it over here. I'm just pressing the wrong button. Look at the images you can make. Just make this sweep. And then we also had a discussion about the use of HD Live with this nice flashlight that you can turn around. It really makes sense in this kind of images. So just try, because you have the probe. So just make 3Ds of the early pregnancy. And look how nicely you have this, the yolk sac in 3D, and also over here. And it's so also, what is also very interesting is to see this fetal-line duct. And what you could try, just through, because also we had some more discussions about the new technology, B-flow. If you scan, because also with B-flow you don't increase the mechanical index, so it's very safe to use because it's the same as you do in a normal 2D image. Try, when you see the fetal-line duct very nicely, to try to use a B-flow. It's really interesting to see. And look at this one. So all done with one sweep. And then we teach you also how to do the Cine calculation. So yeah, it's very impressive. I think especially in your field, because it's so emotional when the pregnancy, and just be sure that you just make a sweep and then get familiar how to make these images. So very nice. And look again, so then you have the amnion. And what is very nice also to look at it in, and of course we know it in 2D, and the amnion over here, but look how nicely you can get it also in a 3D mode. So it's very nice also the interaction with the patient to explain what is happening and how it looks like. Because of course a patient would be very happy to see this image, but if you can show this one to explain how the fetal-line duct is like there and that the amnion is over there, so that works very nice. What I would recommend, of course, everybody would like to hear the heartbeat, but I was taught to use the as low as reasonable achievable. Don't do it with Doppler, especially in these very early ones. Just do an M mode. Or you zoom the image very nice and big, because the resolutions are not so nice. You see this flickering of the heart. I think it's much better than to use the Doppler. Because is there really, of course you need to see the heartbeat, but you can do it, just take an M mode. And then you can also measure the heartbeat. So that's my recommendation, but I think safety, especially with Doppler in this case, it's very important. And this is also what I can see in the scanning rooms also, what the gestational sac, yolk sac, heartbeat, CRL, and the movement. And so just to explain also for new trainees to look at it. So it's very nice to have a look at it. So the ISO guidelines. Then I would like to show you some nice first trimester imaging. So it's really nicely done. And so you can see, I think you know all the technologies now. So how do you call this one, this technique? You will not get your certificate if I don't get an answer. This one. Yes. You write down, okay? That's a good, yeah. No, perfect. Yeah. So that's very well done. And do you remember how this random mode is called? How nicely HD Live. Yeah, Roland, thank you very much. So it's HD Live. So that works very nicely in the early pregnancy. And we also have a dedicated RIC 6 to 12. That's even a higher frequency than the RIC 5 to 9. So this is more dedicated for first trimester scans. But if you have the 5 to 9, just also make the sweep in early pregnancy. Also gives really beautiful images. But we have a dedicated early pregnancy probe, the RIC 6 to 12, and then look at the beautiful 2D also, because this probe can even go higher than 15 to 16 megahertz. So these resolutions are really nice. And then, so thank you also for talking about the slow flow, because what you will see in first trimester, and I'm sure I was talking to the ESWOG also, they said, yeah, there will be new guidelines will come for the first trimester. Because what's happening also, for example, Netherlands, we do now this standard 12-week scan. The early scan is now a standard scan. We were a bit late in the Netherlands, but it's now, you get the sonographers who are trained for the 12-week scans, for the anomaly scan, and then the 20-week scan. And then it makes sense if you have an early look and look at this one. So then you need to have a really nice view of the fetal heart in the early pregnancy. And then try the slow flow, because slow flow is really not increasing the mechanical index. So it's very nice. And then with the slow flow, because I also got the question, what is this button AO, acoustic output? This acoustic output you can really turn down, then the mechanical index is going down, but your slow flow imaging stays very nice. So try to use this one, okay? So that works very nicely. Slow flow and have a look at the mechanical index. Yeah, that's... No, I would use as less as possible. But this one, what we need, for example, for this 12-week scan, you need to have a good look at the fetal heart, and you need to have the ductus venosus. So you need to have a Doppler technique, but use it as low as reasonable achievable, the ALARA principle. And then, of course, now I'm going to have a step further to the NT measurements. Also on the fluorescence, you'll find a technology that's called Sono NT. Then you place a box over the NT, then automatically it will measure the NT. You see already more and more automation will be happening in measurements. And then again, a very nice image over here. So you see, early scan is not so difficult. Make a sweep, okay? Thank you very much. And so any questions, I'm be here around, and I'm now in a better mood than yesterday evening.
Yeah.
Okay?
But you don't have your orange suit.
No. Oh yeah, I promised that when the Dutch team would win, I would wear an orange suit, but I didn't.